Most people think closed-mindedness comes from ignorance, but that's being generous. Ignorance can be fixed. The real reason why people stay closed-minded is far simpler and far scarier. And that is because they're afraid of finding out exactly who they are. Hey there, folks. Welcome back. Warren here. So like I said in the open, the reason they're so terrified is because the moment they open their minds just a little bit, they risk bumping into their own contradictions, their own insecurities, their own unexamined beliefs, their own inconsistencies. And the scariest one, they realize finally that they are not, as they've been thinking, the heroes in their own stories. Know anyone like that? Or is it just me? Hey, and look, for some people, that's a 5-alarm existential crisis. And so they stay locked up. They cling to outdated beliefs the way toddlers cling to a blanket, security over truth, comfort over clarity. Indeed. But that's what they're afraid of. They might bump into these, dare I say, reality checks. And here's the scientific kicker. Neuroscience shows that when our beliefs are challenged, the brain lights up the same regions used during physical threat. Imagine that, right? Our prefrontal cortex wants to establish and update our beliefs, and our amygdala wants to headbutt anyone who tries. I mean, I don't mean to make light of it, but this is why closed-minded people don't just disagree. They act like you have insulted their entire lineage. I mean, I'm serious. Is it just me? Or do you know anyone like that? I mean, it's like they react like you insulted their entire ancestry and ancestors. Because again, they've been living in this matrix where their reality are the things I just mentioned. But we have an out. We have an out for them, for you. Hopefully not. But if you're watching, hopefully you're not one of those. And look, we can pass through life starting out as one thing, and as we grow, change to other things. So if you're on a path of growth from being one of these closed-minded type people, 2 thumbs up to you. 2 thumbs up to you. Like I said, I'm making light of it, but it's a serious conversation because listen, they say great minds think of ideas, medium minds, for lack of a better word, think of events, and small minds talk about people. And if you want to give Eleanor Roosevelt credit for being the first one to coin it or not, or we just wish she was, the sentiment is true. The sentiment is true. Larger minds, for the lack of a better word, think of ideas, talk about ideas. Middle minds, medium minds. Here's the word. Average minds talk about events. And then small minds talk about people. And normally or usually not themselves. And if they're going to talk about themselves, it is in an egotistical, close-minded, one-sided, all about me, Machiavellian, dark triad kind of way, if they are going to talk about themselves. But I mean, some people avoid ideas because ideas expose them. Ideas expose them. I know I'm poking the bear. I know I'm poking the bear. It does. It reveals our our fears, our contradictions, right? Makes us question our assumptions. And that for some people is scary. Like I said, it's like a five-alarm existential crisis for some people to have to recognize and face that. And talking about people is easy because you don't have to look in the mirror, right? Talking about ideas is hard because then you have to confront yourself. Not just my words or Eleanor's, but even the Stoics 2,000 plus years ago taught us that. Indeed, they did. Indeed, they did. Epictetus said, it's difficult to teach someone that which they think they already know. Again, know anyone like that? Translation for today. Translation for today. If your cup is full of nonsense, then there is no place to fit reason or anything wise inside of a cup, that's full of, I already know it. But you know me, I had to give you the absurd twist about it all because closed minded people think that they're protecting themselves. They do. They think they're protecting themselves when in reality, they're imprisoning themselves, right? Because they fear being wrong so badly. They fear being wrong so badly that they never get a chance to grow. I'm just saying, think about it, right? If you always have to be right or your side always has to be right, there is no room. Again, back to Epictetus, if your cup is already full of nonsense or what you think is your reality, your matrix, your pill is telling you that that's your reality. If your cup is already full, then there is no room for wisdom or anything new. But I mean, they fear truth so much that they settle for certainty. Again, is it just me or do you know anyone like that? I mean, I'm just saying. They fear judgment so bad that they never get any better. Think of the irony in that. I mean, it's, again, don't mean to make light of it, but it's absurd. And ironically and absurdly, what they're truly afraid of is that conversation, that lifelong conversation they've been avoiding all their lives. And that is asking the simple question. Just the simple question, meeting themselves halfway. Who am I really? And if they're honest and answer that, that usually gets you to starting to open the door to reality. You start to leave the cave, right? You realize that, oh, there is more outside the cave. And I want to learn more about what is outside the cave. And so you leave the cave. And as you learn that the cave is not necessarily a trap, but it's one of many stories you can tell. Once you start to really embrace that, then you start to share it with others in hopes that they leave the cave. I'm sure you know what cave I'm talking about by now, right? The analogy of the cave, Plato, those cats. But yes, once you start not being so afraid of being wrong and being judged, you start to ask the question, who am I really? And you might be surprised. Instead of being scared of who you find out, you might be pleasantly surprised of who you might find. T. In talking about Plato and caves, the Stoics of 2000 plus years ago would say the first step to wisdom is to admit that you don't know much, to admit how little you do know. And psychologists would say the same. The only difference is that it didn't take the Stoics MRI machines to figure it out. The point, we're scientifically ahead of them, and yet a couple steps backwards in some respects. And look, I don't mean to sound preachy and philosophical, but just think about it. And look, you say, okay, Warren, what's the so what? And the so what really is kind of simple, right? If you want to open your mind, you don't need a philosophy degree. You don't need a peer review study. And you definitely, even though it would be cool, you don't need a meditation retreat in Bali. All you need is one simple thing. And that is just courage, like I said earlier, to meet yourself honestly. Meet yourself halfway, at least halfway, honestly. And most people don't, and that's why they stay stuck. Because it's hard to do, right? Mirrors are hard to look into, unless you're looking into them for the superficial reasons. Look, in wrapping up, I know I might have started out a little harsh, a little in your face, but sometimes the truth can be brutal, especially when it's about us. Yeah, so I may have started out a little harsh, but I mean, the moment you're willing to see yourself clearly, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it hurts a little bit, the moment you're willing to do that is the moment you stop defending your identity and start to improve it. That growth that you never get to because of all your insecurities and you thinking that you're the hero of your own story and all your inconsistencies and your unexamined beliefs, right? All of it. You can start improving that. And look, that's where I believe growth begins without sounding, cheesy and philosophical. I do. I think honestly, that's where our growth really begins, is to look at that person in the mirror and assess them honestly, right? And you'll never know how far we can get. And then we won't have to fall in any of the, or I should say, we won't fall in the latter two of Eleanor Roosevelt's three categories of ideas and minds who think about such things. All right. Hopefully we'll fall in the category of, great's a strong word, but you get the point, of great minds that think about ideas and find solutions for our problems, and not just our first world problems, but our communities, right, at large. Because if we start there, it percolates itself down eventually to others and to bigger things. So yeah, without keeping you any longer, until our next conversation, you think about that, right? And be good out there. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk again soon. We'll see you.